Welcome to the Caregivers Lounge, where we dive into the laughter, love, and lessons of caregiving. Because let's be real, this journey is unpredictable. I'm Shaunté Newby, your host, and whether you're caring for aging parents, deep in the caregiving trenches, just starting out, or simply curious about this world, you found the right place. Here, we share stories, swap insights, and remind each other that no one has to do this alone. So grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's unwind together. Welcome back to another episode of Caregivers Lounge. And if this is your first time joining us, welcome to you. You are in the right place. If you're just curious, you just want to laugh, you got some caregiving stories of your own or some stories about your parents, I definitely want to hear them. People know that I read every comment and every message that comes my way. So after the first two episodes, I decided that now is the time to share some of the funny moments. I told you how I have a list of over 100 caregiving moments. And I want to make sure I let my mom know I'm not leaving her out of this because today I got stories about her and I have stories about my dad, of course. So, with that, let's get into it. In the last episode, we talked about doctor's appointments and having to go to them. And I actually have a few situations to share with you. Even just recently, we had a doctor's appointment scheduled. Well, let me just share what happened. I had his doctor's appointment in my calendar for his primary care doctor. About a month ago, the primary care doctor changed, and my dad goes to the VA. So, shout out to all the veterans. Thank you for your service. So, they changed his appointment because he has a new provider. Well, in my organized fashion, I have the new appointment in the calendar, and I had the old appointment in the calendar as well. So, I took my dad to the VA the other day. We get all the way to the back. We check in, and the lady is looking at me like, "Well, do you have an appointment today?" And I'm looking at my calendar on my phone, and I'm like, "Yes, I do." And before she could even finish her sentence, I said, "Oh my gosh, that's right. We changed providers. His appointment," and she said at the same time I did, "His appointment is next week." Oh, I felt so bad because I scrambled, got my dad together, and, told him to get up, and he had to wait for me. I picked him up, and that long walk in the VA. But he was such a good sport about it because I'm so apologetic. One thing is I don't like to get anything wrong and mess up, but that's between me and my therapist. But he was so understanding and he kind of laughed it off and he said, "Well, you're the one that had to take off. I'm not doing anything else." So I appreciated that he appreciated I took the time out to take him to his appointment. All that to say and show you that while I think I have everything buttoned up, or it may look like I have everything buttoned up, I don't sometimes. And I messed up on that day, but he was a good sport. And we found other ways to occupy our time and get some good quality time because we said, hey, we would be at the doctor's appointment anyway. So we had good quality daddy daughter time. And I enjoyed it. So, if you're just joining us, or even if you have been with us, some of you know or may not know, I've written a book called Your Name is Joseph, which has stories about what happened when my father had a stroke 10 years ago. And these were written, or at least the pages are written as letters to my dad. And if you don't know, I wrote this because I wanted to have something for him in the event he didn't remember what happened to him when he had a stroke. So there was some funny moments and of course some sad moments and scary moments. But overall, it was therapeutic for me. And I've gotten some great feedback from people who've read it and people who know us. Of course, it goes deeper when you know us, but even if you don't, you still get some things out of it. But in the last episode, I mentioned doctor's appointments, and I wanted to actually read a quick part from the book where I attended one of his speech therapy appointments, actually his first one after he left rehabilitation. And I'll just get to it. It was funny to me. And you let me know what you think about it. So I'll just skip to this part where it said, "My highlight for this session was when she was showing you flashcards. You remembered most of them, but when she showed you the one with the squirrel on it, you paused. You said, I don't remember what it's called, but I eat them." The therapist's eyes got wide open. She said, "You eat squirrels?" I could only smile and whisper to her that you like to hunt. like that would make her feel better. It didn't, but it was so funny. We will laugh about this forever. I tell you, it happened so quickly. And I just sat there and I just chuckled and like, it's okay, he hunts. That didn't make a difference, but her reaction was priceless. All that to say, again, to show you the humor that comes in doing these appointments with my dad, which leads me to another one. So, mom, you are not safe in these conversations as well. So, I remember a few years ago, I took my mom to her colonoscopy appointment. And I used to live in Northern Virginia. So I actually drove down and I wanted to be there for her colonoscopy appointment. So the night before the appointment, I show up at her house and so insensitive. I had this big bucket of kettle corn, popcorn. And my mom is in the bed and I'm sitting beside her bed talking to her and I'm just chucking this popcorn in my mouth and laughing and talking with her. And then my mother says, "Oh, it smells so good. I haven't eaten anything in 2 days." And insensitive me, I'm like, "Oh, wow." And I'm still eating the popcorn. I'm like, "Oh, that's so sad." Didn't think too much of it, right? So the next day, I take her to her appointment and I'm thinking, I don't know how long this appointment is. I take my bucket of popcorn into the office with her. So I'm walking in right behind her. And I tell you, before I could cross that threshold, some lady in that room was like, "I know she isn't coming in here with something to eat." And I tell you, I didn't know what to do. I'm standing there holding the popcorn and I walk in and I look away and I take that popcorn and I put it under the seat. But I just knew I was going to be sitting there eating my popcorn while I was waiting, not thinking about all the people in there who hadn't eaten in 2 days. Very insensitive, unknowing. And I will say, after several years later, when I had to get my own colonoscopy, I understood why they felt that way. But that was so funny. She said, "You didn't come in here with that food." And everybody looked at me. Yeah. Yep. That's me. Taking my mom to the appointment. She remembers that, I'm sure. And of course, after the appointment, the coming down from the anesthesia. My mom was so funny. And I see those videos of people who come off anesthesia and and they're like laughing or saying something crazy. And so my mom was a little, loopy. And for some reason, she wanted some gum. And so I hand her a piece of the gum. It was like those little chiclets. I hand her a piece of the gum and she takes the gum, throws it in her mouth, but she doesn't close it. And then the gum falls out of her mouth. And she's like, "What the F did they do to me?" I just, I just, I just stood there laughing. It was just so funny because she was talking so funny and crazy, but the gum falling out of her mouth was hilarious. See, so mom, I know you thought you were safe, but I guess I should have gotten permission from you too. Because if you follow me on TikTok, I did a video with my dad and I asked him if I could have permission to share stories about him. So, mom, I'm coming to you next. I'm going to do a video with you and ask you, and you better say yes. All right. So, speaking of doctor's appointments, uh, one more that I'll share with you is one time my dad had to go in to get an ultrasound for his plumbing. Just want to check things out. Now, if you've had an ultrasound before, they give you all these instructions on, what to take off, what to put on, what to cover up, where to put things. And so my dad had a stroke, and the way he processes information, it takes a little bit longer than most, right? So the lady's going through all these instructions, and I'm standing there like, I need to take notes myself. And of course, he's looking at me like, "Oh, you're coming in here with me." And I'm like, "But where they're checking, I don't think I need to be in there for this." And of course, as his caregiver, I need to be in there. So I go in there with him and I'm trying to tell him everything she told him to do. And of course, it was like, so I said it's plumbing. So you already know. Of course, like take your pants off, cover it up with the towel. And she's telling him, or she told him rather, where to put things. And I'm trying to describe to him without saying the words. I'm actually doing gestures like, take this and pull it up like this and put the towel over it. And so it was just funny to sit there and think about, what would he have done if I wasn't there? Like, I don't even know how that appointment would have gone, but needless to say, it was hilarious sitting there translating his instructions on what to do and where to put it. So as I'm telling these stories, are any stories for your loved ones coming to mind? Any memories, any funny moments that this just etched in your brain forever? Because I will tell you, those last two that I shared with you, those are from years ago. So they are etched in my brain. Love to hear your stories. So as I have been working through the book, working through this podcast, it came to mind, or I was reminded that my dad actually was a caregiver before. So my first exposure to caregiving and understanding it was when I was about 18, I think, 18 or 19, I'm not sure. And my dad was caring for his aunt, my Aunt Girlie. So folks that know us know Aunt Girlie. She was nobody to play with. She was a tough cookie. So the funny thing about Aunt Girlie was she had a lot of money, and she would shop on Home Shopping Network. Shout out to Home Shopping Network. They're actually one of my voiceover clients. Small world, full circle. But she would shop from the Home Shopping Network, and she would order things that didn't make sense. And when I tell you what it didn't make sense, for instance, she was bedridden and she could barely walk. Like if she did, you needed a cane and needed assistance. And she would order exercise equipment like treadmills, and I don't even know what this little rocking thing is called, but she would order things like that. And my dad would have to go over there and return to sender, return to sender. And the funniest thing that she ordered, to this day, I just won't forget that image in my head. So my Aunt Girlie's hair was very short, short, and for those who know, coarse. And Home Shopping Network had this hair on a string. I don't know if you all remember that. It was this hair that was like now I guess it's like tracks, but it was on a string. And the premise was you're supposed to sit it on top of your head, and then you take your hair and cover the string. She didn't have that much hair, but she ordered it, and then she showed it to me, and I just I couldn't do anything but laugh at it. So, again, now that was over. Oh my gosh, that was over 20 something years ago. So again, do you have any memories like that they're just stained on your brain and that come to mind? Definitely drop those in the comments. Taking up a lot of your time here because these stories are so hilarious to me, and hopefully they gave you a chuckle or two. And the one last story I want to share with you. So several years ago, when I was living in Northern Virginia, I came down to our hometown to attend a funeral, and I stayed with my mother. So I got back to her house late that night. And when I got in her house, it was late, like maybe midnight, I'm not sure, but her bedroom light was on, the TV was on. I walked into her room. She's sitting in her chair, hunched over like that. So I'm thinking, first off, she's asleep, right? I'm like, hey, mom, I'm calling her, mom, mom. And she didn't react the first three times I said mom until I screamed and I shook her. And again, she didn't move. All she did was, I do this all the time. Oh my gosh. You could imagine what I was thinking with her hunched over, not to mention I was down there for a funeral. And then to say to me, I do this all the time. So my reaction after that was, well, you need to do that when I'm not down here. Seriously? Yeah, exactly. See, mom, that was two stories that I didn't get permission to share, but that's okay. It's funny. Hopefully, people can relate. But again, I thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. This is like therapy for me to share these things with you. And hopefully, you have someone that you can share things with as well. I'm here if you want to. Again, you can send messages to the email address that'll be shown at the end, or you can drop a comment, send a private message. Most of you probably seen me on Facebook, TikTok. Send me a message. I would love to hear from you. And I'm going to end with a quote that I found online. And it said, being a caregiver means you can find a missing sock, a misplaced pill bottle, and your sense of humor all before breakfast. Facts. That's facts. Thanks for joining. I'll see you next time. drop a message or send an email to caregiverslounge@icloud.com. Also, we have our Facebook Caregivers Lounge group open. So please, if you want to be a part of the conversation in another format, please join that group.